And so the thought of God made a God in the image of a perfect body, having intercourse with himself and needing no other, but in every part harmonious and self-contained and truly blessed. The soul was first made by him, the elder to rule the younger, not in the order in which our wayward fancy has led us to describe them, but the soul first and afterwards the body. A God took of the unchangeable and indivisible, and also of the divisible and corporeal, and out of the two he made a third nature, essence, which was in a mean between them, and partook of the same and the other, the intractable nature of the other being compressed into the same. Having made a compound of all the three, he proceeded to divide the entire mass into portions related to one another in the ratios of 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 8, 27, and proceeded to fill up the double and triple intervals, thus over 1, 4/3, 3 halves, over 2, 8/3, 3 over 4, 16/3, 6 over 8, over 1, 3 halves, 2 over 3, 9 halves, 6 over 9, 27 halves, 18 over 27. In which double series of numbers are two kinds of means. The one exceeds and is exceeded by equal parts of the extremes, for example, 1 4/3, 2. The other kind of mean is one which is equidistant from the extremes, 2, 4, 6. In this manner there were formed intervals of thirds, 3 to 2, of fourths, 4 to 3, and of ninths, 9 to 8. And next he filled up the intervals of a fourth with ninths, leaving a remnant which is in the ratio of 256 to 243. The entire compound was divided by him lengthways into two parts, which he united at the center like the letter X, and bent into an inner and outer circle or sphere, cutting one another again at a point over against the point at which they cross. The outer circle or sphere was named the sphere of the same, the inner, the sphere of the other or diverse, and the one revolved horizontally to the right, the other diagonally to the left. To the sphere of the same, which was undivided, he gave dominion, but the sphere of the other or diverse was distributed into 7 unequal orbits, having intervals in ratios of 2s and 3s, 3 of either sort, and he bade the orbits move in opposite directions to one another. 3 of them, the Sun, Mercury, Venus with equal swiftness, and the remaining 4. The Moon, Saturn, Mars, Jupiter with unequal swiftness to the 3 and to one another, but all in due proportion. Wherefore he made an image of eternity, which is time, having an uniform motion according to number, parted into months and days and years, and also having greater divisions of past, present and future. These all apply to becoming in time, and have no meaning in relation to the eternal nature, which ever is and never was or will be. For the unchangeable is never older or younger. And when we say that he was or will be, we are mistaken, for these words are applicable only to becoming and not to true being, and equally wrong are we in saying that what has become is become, and that what becomes is becoming, and that the non-existent is non-existent. These are the forms of time which imitate eternity and move in a circle, measured by number. Thus was time made in the image of the eternal nature, and it was created together with the heavens, in order that if they were dissolved, it might perish with them. And God made the sun and moon and 5 other wanderers, as they are called, 7 in all, and to each of them he gave a body moving in an orbit, being one of the 7 orbits into which the circle of the other was divided. He put the moon in the orbit which was nearest to the earth, the sun in that next, the morning star and Mercury in the orbits which move opposite to the sun but with equal swiftness, this being the reason why they overtake and are overtaken by one another. All these bodies became living creatures and learnt their appointed tasks and began to move, the nearer more swiftly, the remoter more slowly, according to the diagonal movement of the other. And since this was controlled by the movement of the same, the 7 planets in their courses appeared to describe spirals, and that appeared fastest which was slowest, and that which overtook others appeared to be overtaken by them. Thus far, the universal animal was made in the divine image, but the other animals were not as yet included in him, and God created them according to the patterns or species of them which existed in the divine original. There are 4 of them, one of gods, another of birds, a third of fishes, and a fourth of animals. The gods were made in the form of a circle, which is the most perfect figure and the figure of the universe. They were created chiefly of fire, that they might be bright, and were made to know and follow the best, and to be scattered over the heavens, of which they were to be the glory. Hear me then. 3 tribes of mortal beings have still to be created, but if created by me, they would be like gods. Do ye therefore make them? I will implant in them the seed of immortality, and you shall weave together the mortal and immortal, and provide food for them, and receive them again in death. Thus he spake, and poured the remains of the elements into the cup in which he had mingled the soul of the universe. They were no longer pure as before, but diluted, and the mixture he distributed into souls equal in number to the stars, and assigned each to a star. Then, having mounted them as in a chariot, he showed them the nature of the universe, and told them of their future birth and human lot. They were to be sown in the planets, and out of them was to come forth the most religious of animals, which would hereafter be called man. The souls were to be implanted in bodies which were in a perpetual flux, whence, he said, would arise first sensation, secondly love, which is a mixture of pleasure and pain, thirdly fear and anger, and the opposite affections, and if they conquered these, they would live righteously, but if they were conquered by them, unrighteously. He who lived well would return to his native star, and would there have a blessed existence, but if he lived ill, he would pass into the nature of a woman, and if he did not, then alter his evil ways into the likeness of some animal, until the reason which was in him reasserted her sway over the elements of fire, air, earth, water, which had engrossed her, and he regained his first and better nature. Having given this law to his creatures, that he might be guiltless of their future evil, he sowed them, some in the earth, some in the moon, and some in the other planets. And he ordered the younger gods to frame human bodies for them, and to make the necessary additions to them, and to avert from them all but self-inflicted evil. Having given these commands, the Creator remained in his own nature, and his children, receiving from him the immortal principle, borrowed from the world portions of earth, air, fire, water, hereafter to be returned, which they fastened together, not with the adamantine bonds which bound themselves, but by little invisible pegs, making each separate body out of all the elements, subject to influx and efflux, and containing the courses of the soul. These swelling and surging as in a river moved irregularly and irrationally in all the 6 possible ways, forwards, backwards, right, left, up and down, but violent as were the internal and alimentary fluids. The tide became still more violent when the body came into contact with flaming fire, or the solid earth, or gliding waters, or the stormy wind. The motions produced by these impulses pass through the body to the soul, and have the name of sensations. Uniting with the ever-flowing current, they shake the courses of the soul, stopping the revolution of the same, and twisting in all sorts of ways the nature of the other, and the harmonical ratios of 2s and 3s, and the mean terms which connect them, until the circles are bent and disordered, and their motion becomes irregular. You may imagine a position of the body in which the head is resting upon the ground, and the legs are in the air, and the top is bottom, and the left right. And something similar happens when the disordered motions of the soul come into contact with any external thing. They say the same or the other in a manner which is the very opposite of the truth, and they are false and foolish, and have no guiding principle in them. And when external impressions enter in, they are really conquered, though they seem to conquer.